I dedicated the story to her. And you
Oh,
guys will see that in the story that there is a character that I actually have based off her as well in there,
oh,
which
that's
will be
lovely.
mentioned.
Mm.
That one is dedicated to my one grandmother, and then there's another story I have that will be coming out that will be dedicated to my other grandmother.
Oh, that's nice.
I have a few stories dedicated to people. I know Suddenly a Queen is dedicated to my mother.
Oh,
Mhm.
I love that.
Oh yeah, and there's another story that's I told my twin that I dedicated to her, which is Another World Planet E. That one's dedicated to my twin.
Oh, that's nice.
Hmm.
Especially you can do that. I mean, my family don't care about my stories, so I don't care enough to dedicate stories to them.
I do because some of the inspiration for it comes from them.
Oh, okay.
hmm So that's why I do it, and
Yeah.
it's just something nice. But that's why I wrote the Crimson Keeper. It was after my grandmother passed away. Is
Oh.
when I actually started rewriting the Crimson Keeper, and I remembered I got Say Kill in there to make the cover for me, and it was done. And I had it planned for. I had it planned pretty well since mid-August. The story. I was just writing it and writing it and writing it. So it was
That's
awesome.
cool.
I was glad it came
Yeah.
out.
Sounds
And
like an awesome story.
it did, and it made the that was the story, the first story ever that made the all able shelf of mine. That
Oh,
was
yeah,
the
I
first
remember
story.
that.
Yeah, that was the first ever story from that ever got featured, and I was in by then I was in the community for 2 years, two and a
And
half, three.
it's always exciting when a story gets featured, but like when
Yeah,
it's the first time, that is
that
it's
it was
so
memorable.
crazy.
It was memorable, and I remember I cried before I went live, and I was with her because it was when I was at my current location with Scarlett, and I showed her the email, and it ended up, and it was around my birthday too. I got the email, so it was kind of it was nice. It was literally the week after my birthday that I found out that it got featured.
Oh,
It was
nice.
nice.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the first time when I got featured, it was with Melrose, and it was for the Thrill Me shelf, and I
I
knew the shelf was
remember that.
coming. It was crazy, and the shelf was coming out, and I'm thinking, I kind of really want to be on the shelf, but I really don't think I'm going to be. And
hmm
then the email came through, and I kind of just I looked at it, and I was like, okay. And I went off my email because I didn't really read it, and I
Didn't
was like, okay.
click.
And I went back on it, I'm like, oh my god. And I called my mum. I was the only one in the house, so no one could hear me kind of having my mini freak out.
hmm
And I called my mum. I'm like, I think Maros is gonna get on a shelf, and she was like, oh, it's about fucking timing.
Oh, but
So yeah, she was super happy for me. And yeah, I think that the first time being featured is always that's always been my favorite time. And I loved it when my other stories got featured. The first time, there was something just really special about that.
it's on, and it honestly is. And I remember when it did get featured, I went live. I was in my PJs. I didn't care, and I was just literally really happy. And Scarlett was with me too on the live, and we went literally back and forth with it, and it was crazy because it was
Yeah,
unbelievable. We didn't believe it.
it's a good vibe. Like, I
hmm
think it's scary, yeah, because
It
you think,
is.
oh, people aren't gonna like it, and but honestly, you kind of it's just like really nice feeling of like, oh my god, yay! It's kind of like what you work for, really, with an episode. Like, it's gonna get noticed, and when it does, it's like, yeah, this is a job well done. I've actually earned this. It's a good
Yeah,
feeling.
it is honestly, and it's a really good feeling. And I know when it was when it was the all able shelf, like um I wasn't actually well at the time too. I ended up getting shingles.
Oh my god,
Yeah, at the time too. So I wasn't.
no.
Yeah, it was literally. It was around the same time. It was a few days after that I got that, and it was just crazy because it was a few days after that, and people were doubting that I had a disability. Actually, that people were like, they're like, what's your disability? Like, and I'm one of those people, I don't care if you ask me.
Yeah.
I don't mind. I have a physical disability with my left leg. And I did actually, I remember when I got the Voices of People with Disability shelf, I remember I had it on there and I listed all the disabilities I had as well. But it was awesome to get featured
Yeah.
on that shelf again as well. And it was so sweet. And that one was with um Another World, Planet E. And I do have characters that do have um not only physical disabilities, but they also have um other disabilities as well in the story. Like I know in the Crimson Keeper, I have a character who is in a wheelchair. With the Crimson Keeper, wow. With Another World, Planet E, I have a character who has anxiety and depression. So,
Yeah. I think it's good to portray characters like that.
mhm.
I think.
So I know this is you don't have to answer this one if you don't want to, but for curiosity's sake, for those who are curious, do you have any stories coming out soon?
Um, on plop, yes. On episode, mm, I feel like I need to finish the stories I've got because there are a lot of them.
Hmm.
I do, however, want to bring more thriller stories back to episode, so that's a plan to get that done someday. I don't know when it's gonna happen, but definitely want to bring back my love for thriller writing. So yeah, definitely want to bring more thriller stories to episodes. So hopefully they'll be out when all my other stories are finished, whenever that is.
So that's great. I know I have a few stories going to be coming out soon, but um I know even for updates for them, like I have an update schedule literally posted. So, in the link in my bio that people can see, and I change it all the time because, as I said, when life gets in the way, right,
It gets in the way.
you have to make changes, which it happens. It sucks, but it'll be done. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I think right now I'm just not putting a time on when stories are going to come out because I never stick to the deadline I give myself. So
mhm,
I just say it'll be out when it's out.
I know.
Hopefully, you won't be waiting too long for it, but I can't stick to deadlines. I used to write every day, all day at one point, and now I'm lucky if I can just do an hour.
Well, I'm like that too right now, but I'm actually I switch between stories. And I mentioned this in my last one for inspiration. I have I write one story and I have another one that I'm working on. So I do work on a story and I work on a side project. So how
Yeah,
do
I mean,
you
I get.
keep yourself inspired and productive? I did not mean to interrupt you.
How do I keep myself productive and inspired? I don't know.